Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about puppets and programming. So I was thinking the other day about it, and you look at puppets, right? What do you think of when you say puppet? Well, depending on your age or the entertainment you've taken in during your life, you might think of something like Kermit the Frog as a puppet, or you know Punch and Judy, or maybe they had those characters on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Um, these are all puppets. Obviously, Yoda from the Star Wars series. Yoda's an interesting one because in Yoda you have a puppet with a practical effect, right, which was operated by people. But then you also later on in the Star Wars series there was CGI Yoda, but that's also still a puppet, whether it's a practical effect or whether it's computer generated. It's still a puppet, right? Because you still have someone who's creating the movements of the character and the providing the voice for the character. So these are all of course puppets. Um, but here's the thing, right? Like all these puppets that we're talking about, they're not in your so-called real life, right? Where you see them on TV or the movies or whatever way you might watch them, whatever way you might take them in, stream or whatever it is. But basically, they're they're not in person type things. Now you might see, let's say, some type of Sesame Street live production, and it might feature Kermit the Frog. But here's the thing: is that the Kermit the Frog that appeared on whatever Muppet Show or whatever it might be, or is that just another puppet that's created just for the purposes of a stage show or whatever you might see in live? So, at any rate, these are all puppets, and how are these puppets involved in programming, right? So, you know, so often you see like going back to like 2020, you might see something like you might see like Elmo, let's say from Sesame Street, and he might say it's a good idea to like run around in traffic or something, some kind of absurd example I'm giving here, but you know, um, that's a message. Let's say, hey, go run around in traffic. It's a good idea, and it's up to the person taking this in to say, well, it's not a good idea for me to go run around in traffic, just because some puppet tells me to do so. Um, that doesn't make it a good idea all of a sudden, you know. But anyway, backtracking. So if you take an example of a character, it doesn't matter what what character it is, right? Whether it be Elmo or Kermit the Frog or Miss Piggy or whatever, there's that puppet and there's a message in there and you see it. You know, there's layers to it, right? Because there's a person that's controlling the puppet, there's a person that's voicing the puppet, there's someone that wrote the lines for the person to read for the presentation. There's directors, there's cameramen, there's other people that are in production. There's the person that paid for the production. There's the person that um, saw to it that it gets put onto whatever television commercial or commercial on whatever streaming thing you have, or the whatever the case may be. These are all levels of puppets to a degree, right? Because they're all playing their role in giving you the message to go run around in traffic. Hey, you know, all these levels of people. Now, the person that might be initially behind this drive to have people do something that they shouldn't do, or which is, not in their best interest. Again, like I mentioned before in my other videos, it's I think there's this thing that's running in the background that um, pushes these, programming on people. Um, tries to have people do certain things so that in the end of the day, like people are, they have fears in their lives because of these things, or um, they're not living their best life. Um, so imagine all these layers of people that are all puppets in delivering this message. Let's say to a person. Now imagine if it's not just Elmo or Kermit or Miss Piggy or whoever. Imagine if it's all these people at one time coming at you, telling you the same message. Hey, go run around in traffic. And I guess that's my whole thing. Um, all of these things, you gotta, I think, always look at the situations and, be a free thinker is what I call it, because no one can prove that your consciousness is physically inside of your body in any place, whether it be in your brain or your heart or whatever. There's no proof that can say that you're this thing, that the spark that's making you a living being. Your consciousness is actually physically in your body. It could be outside your body, and you're just using the body as, again, like almost like a puppet that you're moving, and that you're um, moving around and using to talk, communicate with other people and everything. So the most important thing to me is that you remain a free thinker. You don't just follow the programming that's put in front of you, even if it comes from every possible direction. People telling you to go run around the traffic everywhere you turn. From you're watching your favorite football players on television during the commercial breaks, telling you, "Hey, go run around traffic," or like I said, like all these other Kermit the Frog, all these other type of characters that are telling you to do that. Where is this coming from? I think that's the question that you got to ask. Where are all these messages coming from, right? And if it's not coming from within you, you got to consider for yourself like I said, what's a good idea for you? What's in your best interest? Um, frankly, I mean, it could be. Take an example like this, right? Let's say there's a theme park, right? And it's somewhere in the mountains or something, and let's say you had the people that are in charge of this amusement park, and they take a very small child, almost like a baby. They raise it on the property. They don't let them go out of the property. The child's whole world is a amusement park. And you know um let's say they have an actor portraying the king, right? Let's say the person that's in charge of the park, right? So that's the king, and then the child is the prince, right? It's the prince of the park, right? So then, let's say for some reason the person that's the the king of the park, let's say he expires, right? Let's say, and then this child is X amount of years old, and that's their whole world, and that their whole world is the park, and they think they're the prince, right? So now they're in charge of the park. So you have all the people that are um, running the park. Would be playing the role of advisor. So let's say they let the prince um, choose what rides to improve or bring in or alter. Let's say they can choose the food menu. Like, okay, well, you decide what everyone eats this week or this month or today. You have these three choices. Go ahead, make your pick, right? And then the child would think that they're in charge of all the people at the park, the visitors, the employees. They have everything they need there, from the food sources to the hospitals, all these things. And this child, he wouldn't know any better. He was raised there, and he was brought up. That's this paradigm. He's the ruler of this small little kingdom, right? And you know maybe he decides, hey, you know what, I can take all the best meat, best quality meat. I'll keep it for myself, and I can give the people in the park the lower quality meat, or whatever the case may be. Cutting corners on the rides, whatever. He can either be trying his best, in it whatever power he has to improve the situation, or he can be corrupt. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, even if he thinks he's doing good or he thinks he's doing not good, doesn't matter, because he's still just a puppet, right? He's not really in charge. He thinks he's in charge, and the park goers may not know any difference, but he's still a puppet, right? So if he's put here in this paradigm, he's still just a puppet. So I guess what I'm saying is, if this, even if you took this into another situation, right? There is no, I don't really know how to say this exactly, but what I'm saying is, this person that you think is in charge is also not really in charge anyway, right? So anything they tell you, whether it's, again, like I said, run around in traffic, are they telling you to do it? And even if they are telling you to do it and they think that it's a good idea, you still have to think for yourself, right? It's not a good idea. Doesn't matter who's telling you to do it, you know. Um, so I guess that's really all I'm saying. Whatever level of the game that you're in, you know, people that will try to tell you this and that is a good idea, you just got to really look at it for yourself and decide, hey, look, um, this is not a good idea, and I don't want to do it, and it's not in my best interest. And it doesn't matter if, you know, most of the whole world is going along with it. If it's not a good idea, it's not a good idea. And I don't know. I guess that's all I really wanted to say. The level of programming and the puppets that present things to us, more and more it seems like it's important for you to be a free thinker. Um, Consider, what's after this. You know, after this life experience that we have. You know, be aware that there could be something running in the background that's causing things to go a funny way. You know, weather goes sideways. Um, you know, uh, Certain agencies that are here to help people doesn't seem like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. All these things, um, not everything is as it's presented, to you from different sources. Let's just call them puppets, right? And be a free thinker. Decide for yourself. Um, have the experience, but I think, do your best to not harm other people. Keep your word. I think that's the I think that's the way to your best life. So many people spend their time deceiving other people, just trying to get the rewards of the world. And if that's all you get, you're not taking it anywhere with you when this experience is over. So anyway, I guess that's all I really had to say. And be a free thinker. And I guess I'll check you guys out later. Okay, thanks.